Ay, caramba!
Ah! Greetings Wanderer, this is Atlas here and welcome to the Void. Today I'm going to be reacting and breaking down a song called The Last Song from DRAKENGARD 3. This is a song that won one of the polls in my Patreon, as you can see here. It won by a fair amount of a margin, I would say, against atrocious rate from Trace of Cold Steel. So I am vaguely familiar with this video game, as in one of my previous videos, people told me that the franchise NIER, NIER AUTOMATA and NIER Replicant, I believe, are related to in regards to the story, or they are basically in the same, within the same universe, I believe. So in case you want to check that out, I have done two previous reactions / breakdowns of NIER songs. One of them is for NIER AUTOMATA, I believe. It's called A Beautiful Song. I'm gonna leave it in this card right here, but also I did one for NIER GESTALT, called, this name of the song is Song of the Ancients Fate. So I'm gonna leave that too in a card right here, but also I'm gonna leave both of them in the description of this video, okay, in case you want to check that out. But before we begin, I would like to tell you something that I know you will enjoy a lot. I am relaunching my merch shop, and I have been working through the past months with my team creatively, thinking of you. One super awesome design that I'm very proud of, and the artist made an amazing job. This design is called He Who Wonders, and there's actually lore behind this design that you will be able to read in the description of the t-shirt in the shop. As you can see, it's very much inspired by Dark Souls and BERSERK, but mainly it was made thinking of you. Also, by buying the t-shirt, you will have a chance, if you so desire, to be featured in one of my videos. The only thing you have to do is put the t-shirt on, take a picture, and send it to my contact email that there is in the description, and I will put you in one of my videos, okay? So, with that being said, onward. Okay, this is the last song from DRAKENGARD 3. Boom. This is a pretty cool arrangement with the tubular bells. Oh. Wow. That tempo change was really cool. This tribal section is pretty cool. The percussion is killing it. Ah! It's like progressively going faster and faster. But not progressively, but it like steps. Oof. Yeah, much needed space for sure. I'm just trying to figure out if this is the same tempo as the song started. This is awesome. All the tempo arrangements are incredible. Wow. That's probably a xylophone. You can actually hear the attack of the hammer on the instrument. It sounds so organic. Oof, that was it, right? Yeah, that was it. I mean, the song was really good. I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of concerned at the beginning because I was feeling that the intro was, or the build-up, because it really felt like a build-up, was taking a long time. But it actually had a really good payoff, all right? So it's not that bad. It's like it teases you long enough, like on the borderline of being too much, but long enough to have like the reward at the end, which is the whole tribal part with the upper tempo and so on and so forth. I would like to say very few things before we jump into the breakdown. That one of the most fascinating things in the arrangements of the track are not only the percussion but the tempo changes, you know, which we are definitely going to be talking about. So let's break it down. Okay, so there's a couple of very excited to talk about some of the things that are in the song, but as I often do, I want to talk about general characteristics that I was able to perceive from this track, okay? And then we're going to talk more about the specifics, or a certain thing in a specific about the track. Well, two things that are my favorite parts of the track so far, okay? So, talking in general, this is a very organic song all the way. Even though from the beginning we get to hear some synthetic elements, I would say, which very much pertain to the percussion, right? Into the drums, basically these bass samples, bass drum samples that we hear in the intro. And maybe some other things here and there along the track, but the track overall sounds very organic. Like, it has all sorts of very organic instruments. Like I said, it starts with the tubular bells. We hear also a cello as the song progresses. And we actually hear other very exotic instruments that I can't really tell you what the name of them are, because they are like Eastern versions of what we would consider like a flute here, or a regular drum set, or a more exotic kind of drum set that goes to more folkloric tribal kind of genres of music. We also have some sort of lute in the song. The only instrument that I can think of is like a shamisen or something like that. I'm not saying that it's the instrument that it's playing one of the melodies as the song progresses, especially in the tribal part, when the tempo goes up and up and up. But I'm guessing that they are Japanese instruments, but because I think that all these games like DRAKENGARD and NIER AUTOMATA and NIER Replicant are made by a Japanese studio. Like, it's a game made in Japan, right? Now, briefly, I would like to talk about the vocal performance, okay? Because I think that there's something in the vocal performance that people might not, that maybe it escapes the perception of some people in regards to the track. And that is that I think the vocal performance is very much deliberately performed the way it is to make a contrast, a very much obvious contrast in between the most powerful thing that is within the song that is trying to translate all the emotions and the tension and everything from what's happening in the game into the song, which is of course, apologies, the vocals, the human element, the most organic element that there is, that it is a human being singing something. I think that has no competition, because yes, the other instruments are played by humans, but are not the sound that comes from other instruments, like the cello, a flute, and whatnot, are tools that we use to make different sounds. But nothing beats the human voice. That's the most organic you're gonna get, right? Because it's absolutely 100% carbon-based, human being designed, or it comes as that from the factory. So the vocal performance is, I think that people, I might be wrong, but I think that people might think that it's a little bit plain or samey, and I would understand why people will think that, but I don't think it is done that way because of lack of creative input or lack of talent or anything like that. I think it's actually the opposite of that, because like I said before, the vocal performance is the actual balance in between what is happening in the background. Well, not so much in the background, because I think that when the song turns into the tribal part and so on and so forth, it becomes very much in the forefront. But to me, it's the element that creates the balance in between what's happening with the tempo and the tribal part of the song, and the actual storytelling of the song itself. So it balances it out. The craziness that goes into the drum, into the percussion of the drums and so on and so forth, along with the acoustic guitar and so on and so forth, and the vocal performance, which it stays within a certain threshold, of energy, let's say. And you can hear that it maintains that threshold all throughout the song. So I think that kind of arrangement is actually very good. I particularly liked it a lot. Now I want to talk about the good stuff. Well, not really like the good stuff, because the song overall is really good. But let's say like it's my favorite arrangement or thing that is happening in the song, okay? Which is the how the tempo behaves, or the arrangements that are in the tempo. So the tempo is basically how should I describe this? Like how fast you play the song, at what speed, okay? So the tempo is it can be modified, or it can go progressively up or progressively down, okay? So at the beginning of the track, of course, we have a persistent tempo, it's like a constant, but one of the most interesting things about this track is that it plays with most of the things that you can do in regards to the tempo. For the first half of the song, the tempo has like a scaling characteristic that is done by steps. You don't actually hear that the song plays faster, or you hear that it's a faster song, and you can hear that the tempo goes up like immediately, like it's like this immediately. So that's kind of a tempo scaling that it's done by steps, right? You up the tempo of the song a little bit, and then a little bit more, but that's like the immediate change. You will see it like it's a stepping scaling. When the song starts taking these steps up in tempo, the tension and the energy of the song starts to accumulate. Now, for the listener, you don't know what's going to happen. Often we are conditioned to think because this is what in most general songs that you hear overall in your lifetime do, is that you will have a climax where either you know, the energy of the song goes really up, and that's like the reward from the build-up, and then the tension is released because you get the reward, and it's like, oh yeah, give it to me, right? So what's very interesting in this track is that the tempo is actually enhancing, or is more of a catalyst, a multiplier catalyst to the tension that is to the tension that was building up in the build-up. So what the tempo is actually doing is increasing that further and further and further until the track gets to its the maximum step of the tempo that it increases, and that will basically become, or basically becomes, the climax of the song, and that's where you get the most of the rewards. You know, it's like, but at the same time, in my experience, I still felt the tension tenfold. It wasn't like it was, the tension was released. I got the reward as well as the tension got to its maximum peak, which is sometimes counterintuitive, because sometimes that is actually the opposite. Like when you get the reward, then the tension starts to scale down progressively. But this track has an arrangement so cool that it actually does both things until we hear the actual transition towards a lower tempo again, which I was mistaken is not the same tempo as the track started, but certainly is a step further down to what the climax of the song is, of course. Now, if you add on top of that the arrangement that there is in the percussion, which is very populated, you can hear that in the percussion there's a lot of things happening, as well as the acoustic guitar doing some accents here and there. It very much adds, of course, to the premise that I was talking about the reward of the climax, but also the tension. It's incredible how the tension of the track is increased, not only by the tempo, but also by the arrangements that we hear in the percussion. Now, the other very interesting thing is what we hear at fairly the end of the track, which is this very long ritardando. In this case, the ritardando is when you slow the tempo of the song progressively. You start slowing it down and slowing it down. In this case, it's different from the tempo scaling by steps, because when you're, like I said before, like when you're doing it by steps, it's the change of the tempo is instant. It's right on the spot. But when you're doing a ritardando, which in this case is when you slow the tempo of the song progressively, you start to play it slower and slower and slower progressively. Now, the opposite of the ritardando is the accelerando, which is when you start increasing the tempo of the song progressively. You start playing it faster and faster and faster, and of course the perception is that the song is getting faster and faster and faster. I actually talked more in depth about the accelerando in a very recent breakdown for a song from an anime called Parasite, and I'm gonna leave it in this card right here in case you want to check it out. I talk more in depth about the accelerando in that particular video. Okay, so check it out. Now, to close this breakdown, I would like to talk about something very a very minute detail, if you could say so, but also I think it tells so much about the amount of creative work that went into this, which is, you remember that the song starts with the tubular bells, right, at the beginning, in different notes. Notice that the end of the track is played in a xylophone, I believe, and the sound of the xylophone, it's fairly similar to a tubular bell. But what the difference in between the tubular bell and the xylophone is the xylophone has more of a sweeter kind of sound. So the tubular bells have more of this melancholic kind of sound. Yeah, it's more of a bittersweet sound, but the xylophones are more sweet. And both of those instruments, like I said before, have very similar sounds. Not exactly the same, but very similar. And it's very curious that the composer decided to add this arrangement at the end and have that similarity with the opening of the track. So you could say to a certain degree that the song ends fairly similar to the way it starts. But the xylophone arrangement at the end, it seems to me like it has this resolution at the end, because it ends with a note that gives you this good feeling, again, reward kind of thing, which could very well be associated with the title of the song. It's called The Last Song. So I don't know if the last song is basically like the last song, literally, in the video game, but it could very well be. If it's not, it's very cool. It very well could be, because in my opinion, the song has this very satisfying resolution with that ending note, that single ending note in the xylophone. So yeah. I think I'm gonna give this track a golden badge. I really enjoyed the arrangements in the percussion was insane. I loved it, and the arrangements of the tempo apologies, were fantastic. So thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like and share it with your friend. Also, please don't forget to visit my Patreon, my Ko-fi profile, and my Ko-fi store in case you want to support my work, and my Teespring merch shop. Remember that I have new merch, the design, awesome. Go check it out. And of course, ex nihilo nihil fit.